everybody, Elin here. Welcome back to a new video. Today I'm going to do my March and April book haul because I didn't end up reading that much in March. So we're just gonna combine the 2 months, and I just have to say that the reading of April definitely went a lot better. So if we start in the month of March, I read Tilly and the Book Wanderers by Anna James. It's the first book in Pages & Co. series. This is a middle grade book. Basically, we meet Tilly, who lives with her grandparents, who owns this bookshop called Pages & Co. And she finds out that she can book wander. And basically she can meet characters from different books. So she meets Alice from Alice in Wonderland, Anne from Anne of Green Gables, and she also realizes she can go into the story. So it's very magical, it's a very quick read, it has beautiful illustrations. I loved her friendship with her friend Oscar, and yeah, I really enjoyed this one, so I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. And then the second book I ended up finishing was The Vanishing Deep by Astrid Schuldt. This is a YA fantasy book. We meet 17-year-old Tempe. She is living in this sort of water-based world, I guess, because there's not a lot of earth left. And basically they have built different sort of cities on the water, and the old world, if you will, is underneath the surface of the ocean, and she basically goes diving down every day to try to collect things from the old world that she can sell for notes, which is basically their currency. And the reason she's doing this is, besides staying alive, is also so that she can pay for her sister's resurrection, because her sister ended up dying 2 years ago, and she wants to ask her a couple of questions, like how come she ended up killing their parents. And to be able to do that, she needs a shitload of money to be able to resurrect her sister for 24 hours before her time is up. And yeah, shit definitely goes down in this book. It was a really quick read. I love the sort of dynamic between the 2 sisters. World aspect was really cool as well. Was a little bit too insta-lovey for my taste, but you know, can't get it all. But yeah, I ended up giving this book 4 out of 5 stars as well. And then we are officially moving on to the month of April. So I read All American Muslim Girl by Nadine Jolie Courtney, and this is a YA contemporary. In this one we meet Ali, and basically her dad was raised a Muslim, her mom was raised Catholic, but she converted to Islam when she married her husband. And Ali is very interested in finding out how to practice Islam and stuff like that. And she's also very tired of her dad and her other family to be treated differently just because they're more obvious Muslim, as she calls it, because she's Caucasian, she has red hair, looks a lot more like her mother, who's American, and therefore people doesn't think she is a Muslim. So she wants to start practice the religion, and she's trying to figure out how to do that, basically. It was an interesting concept, but like, I've heard some mixed things about the representation in the book, and I can definitely see why. So yeah, I ended up giving this book 3.5 out of 5 stars. Then I also read Leviathan Wakes by James S.A. Corey. This is a sci-fi novel. It's the first of a very long series. I was so excited to pick this book up, but honestly, kind of dragged a little bit for me. We meet Jem. He is a ice miner. He's supposed to, you know, mine ice and bring it back to the planet, and then you can melt it down and use it for, you know, water reservoirs and stuff. And he finds this sort of mysterious ship that is like broken up, it's been shot at, but it's empty except for some really gruesome parts, and he's trying to figure out why. And then we have Detective Miller, who is looking for this girl whose parents have reported her missing, and these 2 things may or may not connect. It was I didn't really connect with the characters. I loved all this spaceship and the technology and stuff like that. It was really cool, but it was very insta-lovey in a weird way, and I didn't really connect with the characters. I wanted more background about them and stuff like that, so I felt like it was dragging on for a little bit, especially, you know, like the end. But yeah, I ended up giving this book 3.5 out of 5 stars. Then after that, I read The Nightingale by Kristen Hanna. This is a historical fiction, and I haven't had this for so long, and I don't know what made it take so long for me to pick it up. But in this one, we follow two sisters during the Second World War. They live in France, and we follow Vianne and Isabelle, and they have very different views on how to survive the war. Vianne is mostly trying to take care of herself and her daughter, while her husband Antoine is at the war front, you know, fighting with the other soldiers. She wants to stay out of trouble. She's just trying to keep them alive, basically. She definitely have a few run-ins with the German soldiers that she has to house in her own home. And then we also have Isabelle, who is more of a she doesn't want to be like laid back. She wants to be part of the resistance. She does not want the Germans to just take over. She wants to do something about it, and she ends up basically joining the resistance, and that makes shit very dangerous for her, and shit happens, and it's so good. I love the dynamic between the sisters, even though it was very complicated. The story was such like quick paced, and something was happening all the time. It was captivating, it was interesting. This book made me cry at one point, which does not happen often, I might tell you. But yeah, this was really, really good, and I ended up giving it 4.5 out of 5 stars. And then we have Late to the Party by Kelly Quinlan. This is a YA contemporary. In this one, we meet Cody. She and her friends are trying to sort of branch out, trying new things. Cody's not really up for it in the beginning, but her friends Marcia and Yukori really wants to be like more popular. They want to go to parties and stuff like that, but that's not really Cody's cup of tea. But she ends up running into this boy who is at a party, and he is making out with another boy at the party, and Cody accidentally witnessed this, and the guys are obviously a little bit worried that she's going to tell somebody, which she promises not to do, and she becomes friends with one of the guys, and that makes her somewhere spiral into something completely different, because all of a sudden she's going to parties, she's drinking, she's smoking weed and stuff. But yeah, I liked her friendships with the new kids that she meets, her new friends. Not so much with her old friend Moritz and Yukori. I felt like they had the same sort of fights over and over again. Nobody learned from their mistakes. They couldn't really like see each other's points of views, and it was a little bit annoying to relive the same fight over and over. But basically just because also that the entire book is basically about parties, and I just wanted something more than that. So I gave this 3 out of 5 stars. And then we have Codename Verdi by Elizabeth Wayne. This is another historical fiction that I've had on my TBR for like forever. So this one takes place in 1943 during, you know, Second World War, and we have a British spy plane crashes in Nazi-occupied France, and one of the girls is mistaken for being the pilot when she was in fact not. So she's sort of held by the Gestapo, and she's being interviewed or interrogated, more than I like it. And she ends up writing all of these letters telling her life story basically. And then we have the other girl who is basically, you know, the pilot who ends up not being captured. I found this book kind of boring, to be honest. The letters didn't really intrigue me. It was basically about, oh, I went to this place on my motorbike with my friend, and then this happened, and then we went back with the motorbike, and then the next day we did this with the motorbike. It was not very interesting. I definitely wish there was more of a plot. I wasn't really interested in her being interrogated either, because it wasn't too much like happening in the now. She was basically more just telling you afterwards, and I don't really like that much. The last like 1/3 you got to hear from the pilot's point of view. She was a little bit more interesting, but not by much, and just didn't end up enjoying this book very much, which is not promising since I already owned the second book since like years ago. It's more of a companion novel though, so hopefully it's better, but I don't know. But yeah, I ended up giving this book 2.5 out of 5 stars, unfortunately. And then we have the ebook and the audiobooks that I listened to this month. And the ebook I read was Delilah Green Doesn't Care by Ashley Erin Blake, which is an author I've been really intrigued by in the last few years because I've read a couple of her books now and they're all really good. So this is a adult romance novel. It's LGBTQ+, which is always fun. So we meet Delilah Green, obviously. She has moved to the big city a couple of years ago, trying to make it as a photographer, but she has to go home to her hometown, where she lived since she was like 8, to take photographs for her stepsister Astrid's wedding. And there's a lot of drama there. There's a lot of like misunderstandings and like bad memories and stuff like that. But Delilah ends up meeting Claire, who happens to be Astrid's best friend, and you know, drama ensues, and basically they try to make Astrid break up with her fiance because they think he's not good enough for her, and that's really intriguing actually. But I also liked Delilah and Claire's sort of, you know, blossoming friendship which turns into a romance type thing, and also the family dynamic between Astrid and Delilah, which is very complicated to say the least. I ended up giving this book 4 out of 5 stars. And then we have Reminders of Him by Colleen Hoover, and this is my first Hoover book. But basically we meet Kenna. She's just gotten out of jail for involuntarily manslaughter. She's been in prison for 5 years for killing her then boyfriend Scotty in a vehicle accident, and she ends up going home to her hometown because she wants to get the chance to get to know her daughter DM, who she hasn't met since, you know, giving birth to her, and now she's almost 5 years old. She ends up meeting Ledger, the owner of the local bar, and they end up having a very complicated relationship in a way. There's a lot of drama, and I did not really enjoy it very much. It was just a lot of guilt tripping. Patrick and Grace, who are the grandparents of DM and the parents of Scotty, who died. And I don't know, I just felt like Kenna was just not for me, even though I enjoyed the other characters. So yeah, I ended up giving this book 3.5 out of 5 stars. And the last book I read was Every Summer After. This was really good. Our main character ends up getting this sort of holiday cabin in this little in this little town with her parents when she's 13 years old. There she meets the 2 brothers who live there all year round. They end up getting friends, and we basically get to follow them from getting to know each other at age 13 until they're adults, and all the drama that happens in between. And it was so good, and I ended up giving this book 4 out of 5 stars. But yeah, those were all of the books I read during these 2 months. And please let me know down below if you've read any of these. Yeah, I hope you have a good day or evening, and I hope we see each other in the next one. Bye!